So that's how you create a promise. Now I'm going to save, I'm going to refresh, and nothing happens because I've just created the promise, but I'm actually not, utilizing it. So that brings me to the second part of the promise, which is to use the promise. You have created the promise. The promise, let's say, goes to a database, does something, and either is successful or it's not successful, right? So going back to our definition over here, let me continue to the second part. The second part of the definition says, a promise is called a promise because it guarantees it will run upon success or failure of the task. Okay, so that's a very important part. So either the activity is successful or it fails. In either case, is going to run, right? Run successfully or run failure. So actually, I made a typo over here. I should call it reject. So when it fails, it's going to run this function. If it's successful, it's going to run this function. Okay. So now let's come over here, and I have not written an if statement over here. So let's say if true, then this is just an example. In the real world, you would write your logic of whatever system or asynchronous task you're working with. Okay. So now let's come to the part where you consume or use the promise. So this is the name of the promise, P. So I'm going to come over here and say P dot, and then I'm going to say the then method. So when you create a promise, it gives you a few methods. One is called then, and one is called catch. So one of them, which is the most common one, is then. So this then keyword, then method, takes a callback function, and this is the success or resolve callback function. So when the data comes back, this callback function is passed to resolve, and this is executed. So this callback function basically receives this parameter over here. I know I'm kind of confusing you, or the concept or the structures are a little bit back and forth because callback functions can get confusing. So slow down, watch this video again if you have to. Read certain articles, read the documentation on Mozilla on using promises, and it's going to come to you with practice. So continuing on, this particular function expression is actually passed to this resolve, which is the same resolve over here, which is executed. So this particular parameter can be captured over here. So I'm going to call it res for response, let's say. And I'm going to do console.log res, save, and now refresh. And in 2 seconds, successful login runs. So let's slow it down over here and let's recap what just happened. You said to your JavaScript engine, hey, go do an asynchronous task and resolve it. Just do that after 2000 milliseconds. If you're successful in doing that task, which we said it's true, then run this callback function of the success, which is we're calling resolve. And if you fail, then run reject, right? And we're like, okay, I'm going to run resolve, but what is resolve? So what is resolve is defined over here in the then method. So this particular function, this function expression is this resolve, which gets executed, and whatever you want to do on success, you're going to do over here. So in this case, we are just printing the message. But let's say you fail, then you're going to use the catch method. So I'm going to say dot catch, like such. So I'm basically chaining, you see, when I use this particular promise and then dot this and then dot this. So this is a chain, right? So that receives a callback function, and this is the reject callback function. You see reject over here, that's the reject one. So then is going to the resolve, and the catch callback function is going to reject. And I'm going to simply console.log, let's say error. And I'm going to call this parameter error as well. And let's say I'm going to call it false over here. If, let's say, the activity is false, then I'm going to save, refresh, and in 2 seconds, login failed prints out. Now, I know, again, this is a little bit vague. So digest this information, and I'm going to talk to you in the next video. We're going to build on top of this and tell you the power of it. So talk to you in the next lesson.